up, guys? Welcome back. It is Wednesday, which means I have another video for you guys. Recently someone asked on a Discord that I'm a part of, where to start and how to start a business. So I figured that gave me a good idea. I figured I would answer some basic questions, I guess, and kind of talk about my experience with starting a business. It has been a long road, that's for sure. I have 3 now. I have Rose Outfitters, which is a clothing line. I have Vile Beans, which is a coffee line. And I also have Enchanted Rose Apothecary, which is handmade stuff. So, yeah. It's been really fun, and I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot the hard way. And just by doing kind of my own research and seeing what works and what doesn't. So I figured I would give you some of my insight if you want it. If not, you don't have to watch this video. My cat's gonna come join us. Maybe. Hey, bud. What are you doing? There he goes. And there's the microphone. Okay, so you want to start a business. It's something that you are interested in, have been interested in, whatever, but you don't know where to start. Can you move? Thank you. I just lost my screen. Okay. So the first thing that you really need to figure out is what you're going to sell. And this could be a product or a service. Either one of those things, once you figure that out, if you want to do life coaching or you want to sell things that you make or whatever, all of this pertains to either one of those. So once you figure out what you're going to make or what you're going to sell, you need to figure out how you're going to have inventory, whether that's, if you hand make stuff, you have inventory in an office or a warehouse or whatever. Mine's in my garage. You have to figure out how you're going to organize that. For services, you have to figure out, how you're going to offer those. And if you use Calendly or Square has a calendar built into their system, you have to figure out how you're going to be able to provide those services and where. My suggestion for starting out, for either product or service, is keep it small. You don't know really what's going to be popular. You don't really know what's going to sell, what's not going to sell right up front. Maybe you do, I don't know. But keep your inventory small. Pick a couple things that you can make and have on hand and put on your website. For me, with Enchanted Rose Apothecary, it was originally Enchanted Tea and Candle. I actually recently changed the name so I could broaden my horizons, I guess. But I just started with a couple scents of candle and like 6 teas, and that was it. That's what I sold. And then I figured out what did well, what didn't do well, what I could make, and what was cheap for me to add to the inventory, without sacrificing any quality. So yeah, start small. Don't overwhelm yourself at first, because if you do that, you're gonna get burnt out real quick. So if you're a craft business, make a couple things, have some examples online, put it on your website or wherever you're going to sell your stuff, and then move outwards from there. Don't start with, piles of stuff that you want to sell, because it's not going to be easy to maintain, and it's not going to be easy to keep track of sales, inventory, and all that. So keep it small and then work bigger after that. So after you figure out what you're going to sell and how you're going to organize all of it, online, whatever, you have to figure out who you're going to sell to, your audience. So this is really important, and it's something that I didn't really think about until, honestly, really recently. So your audience is really important. If you're trying to sell something to somebody who has no interest in what you're selling, they're not going to buy it. So don't waste your energy on people that aren't going to buy it. You have to know your audience, which has a lot to do with your niche. And we hear that a lot in social media, especially like TikTok and all that, putting content out there. You have to find your niche. All this means is you have to figure out who is going to be interested in buying your stuff. This is really important when you start working with Facebook and Instagram ads, because you can customize who sees your ads down to like who likes certain pages and who has certain interests on Facebook. So that's really important to know off the bat. And it's something that I didn't do off the bat, and I definitely didn't do well because of it. So find your niche, find your audience, figure out who you're catering to. If you're making baby blankets, you're obviously going to be catering to a female market, mostly, and maybe grandparents, or mostly moms, probably, new moms, but mostly female, young, that's going to be your audience. If you're doing woodworking, or you're making like wooden signs, that's going to be a broader audience, but you have to figure out who's going to want this wooden sign. Maybe other businesses. You can cater to people who have small businesses. It's that kind of stuff that you want to start thinking about to figure out who is going to click on your ad. So think about that up front. That's also going to help you build your website and build your aesthetic and build your brand. Another thing to think about when you are looking at your audience, ask yourself the question, especially if you're providing a service, what problem are you going to solve for them? The whole point of advertising is getting people to realize that they need your thing, right? They need that thing to make them whatever, happy, whatever. So think about, when you're making your website and your ads and figuring out what you're going to make in general, what problem are you going to solve for people? That's something to kind of keep in the back of your mind when you're working on building your business. Okay, so you know what you're going to sell and who you're going to sell to. Now, the biggest part of all of this is, how are you going to sell it? How are you going to have the transaction occur from buyer to yourself? The biggest one right now is going to be online. There's not a whole lot of markets that are going on right now. You can go to if you're making things, you can go to local flea markets and all that, but most of the stuff is going to be online. So when you're thinking about how you're going to sell these things, you have to figure out and research which website hosting service is going to be best for you. You're going to need something to make transactions happen, right? So the two that I use, and the two that are probably the most popular, are going to be Square and Shopify. For my crafting business, I use Square because it's a lot easier to manage inventory, and it's a lot easier to kind of make my own thing. I don't know how to explain it, but Square is really good for crafting businesses, handmade stuff, because it's dealing with less big amounts of inventory. Shopify, on the other hand, is really good for drop shipping. So I make custom clothing, and Shopify makes it really easy for me to link my Shopify stores to the software that I use to create the designs for clothing. And I can literally, by the click of a button, just upload it to Shopify. It makes it super easy. They have mock-ups, they have everything I need. Square is really good because I manage it hands-on a lot more than I do Shopify. I have control over Shopify, but I have a little bit more control over Square when it comes to things that I make. Both work. You could use Shopify for literally everything, and you can use Square for literally everything. But it depends on what type of business you have. One's probably going to be better than the other. I do want to talk about Etsy. I am not a fan of Etsy, and here's why. When I started my clothing line, I started on Etsy. And I was literally in the middle of putting products onto my Etsy store, and it deleted my account. It just gone. I tried to log in, and it told me that there was no store that existed under this name, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And I couldn't get it back. It was gone. And I've heard a lot of people having this same issue. So I have strayed away from Etsy, and I encourage other people to stray away from Etsy just because it's not incredibly reliable. And I've also heard like they've changed some of their advertising things. They take a big chunk of change out of your sale, which in my opinion, you should get as much percentage of your sale as possible. And that's one of the things that you should look at when you're researching what website hosting service you use. How much do they charge you for each sale? I know Square and Shopify both take, Square takes a percentage out of each sale, but there's no monthly fee. So if I don't make any sales in a month, I don't have to pay anything. It's just per sale. Shopify, I pay a month, but they don't take a percentage out of the sale, I don't think. Let's see. When I create things, it costs me money, obviously, to get the product made. And then I can control how much markup there is. So if I sell a shirt and the shirt costs $10 and I want to make a commission off of it, obviously you want to make money. That's the whole point. I can adjust what percentage of markup is on that specific shirt. So like I said, it just depends on what you need to do. Let's see. I covered that. Oh, another thing, it sounds silly, but do you like the aesthetic and the user interface of the platform? If you don't like it and it's not easy for you to use, you're going to get frustrated with it. So if you start like working on stuff and you're like, I can't do this, I don't understand how this works, I wouldn't necessarily give up on it right away. You can watch YouTube videos, whatever. But if it's something that frustrates you, just go somewhere else. It's not worth it. Okay. So once you create your website and you have a place where you can make transactions happen, it's time to make social media pages. And I don't know if, I'm sure other people would agree, but social media is going to be your number one driving factor to get people to your website. So it's really important that you take your time when you make social media pages. The two that I use are Instagram and Facebook. And they're really simple. They're kind of like one and the same. Facebook owns Instagram, so it's really easy to post posts at the same time, which I use Facebook Business Suite for all of my pages and all of my social media posts. Excuse me. It makes it really easy. When you are done creating both your Instagram and your Facebook pages, a lot of people also use Twitter. You can use Twitter. Don't know anything about Twitter. To me, it's just really confusing. It's hard to get your stuff out there on Twitter. And TikTok. I can't forget about TikTok. Use TikTok to advertise as well. But that's like purely algorithm based, and it's an anomaly. But as far as Instagram, Facebook goes, once you create your pages, invite everyone that you know. Those are going to be your easiest likes, follows that you're going to get. So take advantage of it. Invite everybody to like your page, because that will boost you up a little bit. With Instagram, one of the biggest ways to grow is to find pages that are in your niche and follow them, interact with their pages. I know for my coffee line. It's Vile Beans, and it's named after serial killers and villains and all that. So I followed every true crime podcast I could find, and I'm still following more, and I'm interacting with their pages, and I'm actually listening to their stuff too. You want to follow and you want to interact with people in your niche, because that's going to drive more and more people to your page and then to your website. And it's really interesting because you can, well, not interesting, it's really helpful. You can, on any platform that you decide to go with, you should be able to find out who people or where people are coming from to get to your website. I can't speak today. Good Lord. So you should be able to figure out how people are finding you and where they're coming from. So Instagram, Facebook, whatever. I think most of the time it's just labeled as social media, but you can use discount codes to also track this. So I use discount codes for different things. So I know this person found me from this podcast and they are buying these products. So I can figure out where people are coming from by discount codes and what they're buying and what's doing well in different places. So that's another good way to figure out where people are coming from and how they're finding you. What else? What else? I think that's about it. I think that covers the basics. So when you're starting a business, you want to remember, what are you going to sell? How are you going to get the inventory to sell the things? Drop shipping is something that I use a lot, and that could be a whole other video in and of itself, which it might be one day, I don't know. But you got to figure out what you're going to sell, who you're selling to, and where those people are, and how are you going to sell it? That is pretty much the foundational concepts of where to go. If you have questions about specific website hosting or different places to go to look for stuff, to use, Square, Shopify, Etsy, whatever, let me know, drop a comment. I think that's it. I can't think of anything else. I'm sure there's so much when it comes to business ownership. And I'm by no means an expert. I am still learning myself, but it's something that I really enjoy. Something I'm really passionate about. Yeah. I think that's probably it. I am wearing, I don't know if you can see it, but I am wearing one of my shirts from my store. So, yeah, it's exciting. Oh, I just messed up my microphone. And that's on Rose Outfitters, so make sure you check it out. I will link all of my websites so you can see them. Yeah. I hope you guys have a good rest of your week. We'll see you next Wednesday.